Hey, what's up? We've got another CB750 video here. So what we're doing today is we're taking the pistons and we're installing all of the piston rings. I bought JE pistons for the 836 kit, which bored out the cylinders on the motorcycle, and I think they're 66 millimeter. Yeah, 66 millimeter. You can see it in there. And I think the normal piston size is like 61, and then they go in like quarter millimeter increments up to 62. As always, Samba, my French bulldog friend, brother from another mother. So the JE piston is a little weird in that it does not tell you which is the front and which is the back. So which way the piston should face. There's no arrow on the inside of it. There's a part number. It's got a JE logo, and it says 66 millimeter. I don't know if you can see that on the inside. So it's very difficult to know which way it is. However, one clue is 2 of them come in blue bags and 2 of them come in red bags. And then I took a look at the head, which I brought inside with the valve holes. So you've got the exhaust side, which faces the front. Those are the smaller ones. And then you've got the intake side, which are the larger ones. They face the back, and the carburetors are in the back, and the fuel and the air comes on the inside. And it was obvious after looking at the piston that 2 of them face to the right and 2 of them face to the left, and this matches the offset of the valve within the head. So you can see that valve matches up there with the exhaust side, and that valve matches up there again with the exhaust side. So it's easy to spread them out in a pretty little line here so you know what goes where. And then I just kept the head here because it just made it a lot easier. So that's the first thing, is you got to determine which side is which. Then what you have to do is you have to install the piston rings. Now there is an oil spacer, or an oil ring spacer. There's an oil ring, there's an additional oil ring, these sandwiched together like this. Then there is one compression ring, and then there's another compression ring. So there are 5 rings total. I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera on my head now. So I have free hands. And you have to determine which one goes where, because the instructions are absolutely useless. They tell you how to clean it, thank you. They tell you how the wire locks work. They tell you a bunch of stuff for the ring installation guidelines and stuff like that. And the good thing they tell you is where the gaps go, so that's good. But you have to know which way is front and which way is back, and they don't tell you how to determine that either. So I think this is just a general set of instructions, which is why they're so vague, but just like anything else, it just needs a little bit of thoughtfulness. So the first thing that you do is you install, well, first you have to determine whether it's the bottom ring or whether it's the top ring goes on the top and the bottom. And it's lucky enough because one only fits in one side. So the bottom one you can see fits, it's a little thicker. It doesn't fit in the top ring hole, but the top ring does fit in the top ring hole right there. So it gives you an idea on which one goes where. So that's the other thing. So you just have to use clues to put these things together, and it's pretty difficult sometimes. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install this bottom ring here. And they will often get caught in grooves that they don't belong. And this is the front. So I go to the bottom oil ring gap, which is right here, and you have to line it up with the oil hole in the piston. As you can see, it goes to the oil hole right there. So I'm gonna leave that there, and then I'm gonna put this in, and it doesn't say oil ring rail gap, top compression, and it says oil ring expander gap range, which would be this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the oil expander gap right here on the opposite side. Okay, and it doesn't want to fit because it's got a little groove in it that requires you to pull out this first ring again, and then it will fit. So I need to work my way around here. So it goes in. Okay, there it goes. So again, I'm going to move this over to match inside the oil hole. And then I'm going to find where this ring breaks, which is a little bit difficult. There it is. It's right there. Then I'm going to try to move it over. Where is it? I lost it again. Man, that's a real bitch to find. This is probably the hardest gap to find. There it is. It's right there. Let me get the knife. There it is. And now this is in the wrong place. Bottom oil ring gap. And you have to line it up. With the oil hole. Okay, so that's lined up, and my ring is a little bit not lined up, but it's well within the area here. So that one is right there. I think I've screwed this up like completely. I'm all the way around where I should be. Yeah, that's still good. Okay, and then that one's got to go right here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to put that in the center here. Boom. So these are lined up pretty good. I'm going to do this again at some point, but these are lined up pretty good for right now. Now it says the bottom compression ring, which is the one that I'm going to do first, which would be the second compression ring, which is the larger one, has to be on this side. So I'm just going to go ahead and pre-do it there. I'm going to go down to the bottom area where it goes in. I'm just gonna move it around. I'm doing this pretty quickly, but the first one I did not do it this quickly. I had no idea what I was doing. I've done all 3 of these already. And the second one goes in right here. And as you see, as they compress, that gap gets smaller. I don't know if you can see it, maybe that's a little bit easier. You can see that gap getting smaller as it compresses. So that one, the bottom one is open on that side, the top one's open on that side. There's a gap right here with the first oil hole. There's a gap right here with the second oil hole. And then the gap on the spacer ring is somewhere around here. Again, it's really difficult to see. There it is right there. And that goes in right there. So again, to review, the instructions, I'm sure Wesco and some of the other companies are just as terrible. It doesn't really tell you a whole heck of a lot. It's mostly geared towards matching the piston with the bore in the cylinder, but not really very helpful on the install. So just go ahead and use clues as much as you can. Try to match up the larger gap in the cutout at the top of the piston with the larger valve. In this case, it's the intake, and then match the offset with the exhaust valve. So you can see that it's to the right, so that's to the right, to the left, left, right, right, left, left. So that should be everything you need to install the piston rings and match it up within the head and within the cylinders. And when I do get to install the pistons, I'll do a separate video on that. All right, thanks a lot, guys.